Photometry is the science of the measurement of light, and a photometric report is really the fingerprint of a luminaire. It's how a luminaire delivers its light. In order to find out how the luminaire delivers its light, at what angles and at what intensity, we use something called a mirror goniometer. Now, a mirror goniometer takes the light intensity, or candela, and measures it at different angles. This is an example of this now. This is going to illustrate what a mirror goniometer does. It isn't a true mirror goniometer because the distance required in order to measure the intensity of the light, or the candela, has to be 25 feet. But this will give you a bit of an idea of what it transpires. What we do is we put a measuring device, measure candelas or candle power, which is light intensity, at 0 degrees. We measure the candelas at that point. We then move it 5 degrees and we measure the candelas at that point. We do 5 degrees all the way around the luminaire, even above it. So we're at here. Then what we do, once we've gone the whole 360 degrees, 0 degrees being beneath the fixture, we turn the fixture 45 degrees and we do the whole thing again. Depending on the fixture, we may do this at various different angles. A candela distribution chart is now made. At different angles, we show the different intensities. The farther away from the 0 point, which is here, the more intense the light is. If you take a look at this candle power curve for a deep cell troffer, you can see that the farthest point is this pink line at about 35 degrees. Now this pink line represents across the lamps, 90 degrees from the lamps, and 35 degrees is the vertical. The candela distribution table is the candela curve, but put in a tabular form. Let's take a look at the chart, the table, for the fixture we just saw. We can see that at 90 degrees along the horizontal, or across the lamps, and 35 degrees vertically, we have our highest intensity at 2,450 candela. The coefficient of utilization table is a table that shows the percentage of light from the lamps themselves reaching the work plane in a given space. It takes into account all the variables and intangibles within this space that could affect the amount of light that arrives at the work plane. The room cavity ratio, this column on the left-hand side, this is the ratio of walls to horizontal surface or floors or work plane. Walls are absorbers. They're going to absorb the light. The greater the amount of light that gets absorbed, the less amount of light will reach our work plane. Let's take a look and see how this works. We also have reflectance values on these charts. Here we have 20% floor reflectance, 80% ceiling reflectance, and 50% reflectance on the walls. If we use a room cavity ratio of 3, we go along that line, find the value that we have, and we see that there is 64%. So 64% of all the light that is generated from those lamps in that luminaire will reach my work plane. What happens when I change my reflectance value? Change my reflectance value only of the wall. Some designer wants it to be a little bit darker or wooden. We look at 20% floor reflectance, 80% ceiling, and this time we'll look at 30% wall reflectance. We see that the values have gone down to about 59%. So just changing the reflectance values of the wall has eaten up about 5% of our light. Spacing ratio or spacing criteria or spacing to mounting height is the ratio to how far we can space these fixtures or luminaires apart compared to the height or the mounting height. It's given as a number such as 1.6. A lot of people get this confused and don't quite understand it. This 1.6 is just easily a multiplier. You multiply that by the height in which you have them installed, and you will still have uniformity. If we have a 1.6 spacing to mounting height and we have a 10-foot high work plane, we can space these fixtures out 16 feet and still have uniformity throughout the space. This candle power curves that we see and we use also are a designation for the Ies Luminaire Classification. Here we see 6 different luminaire classifications, all the way from direct through direct-indirect and into indirect, depending on the percentage of light that comes out of the fixture. That's photometry. Simplified, very, very easy.